My fiancée grinded on a hype host at her bachelorette party, so I dropped the ring and let the internet handle the rest. And now I wake up with 47 missed calls from her. What's up, Reddit? I'm in my early 30s and thought my life would be boring by now, but apparently the universe had other plans. Here's one of the latest messes I got handed. Curious what you all think. So I'm a civil engineer, 31 male, working on some pretty big infrastructure projects around the city. Nothing that'll make the news, but important shit. The kind of work that keeps bridges from falling on people's cars and buildings, from sinking into the ground. I've always been the practical type, the guy who thinks about drainage systems and load-bearing capacities, while everyone else is taking selfies in front of the finished product. 3 years ago, I met that girl who I'll call Alicia at this rooftop bar downtown. I wasn't even planning to go out that night. Had just finished a grueling week finalizing specs for a municipal project. My buddy Drew practically dragged me there, saying I needed to remember what sunlight looked like. The bar had this whole summer vibe going. String lights everywhere. Overpriced drinks with little umbrellas. I was nursing a beer, half listening to Drew talk about his fantasy football league, when I noticed her at the bar. Alicia was 25 then, working her way up at this fashion brand as a social media coordinator. She was laughing with the bartender, this genuine laugh that made her whole face light up. Not the fake Instagram laugh you see everywhere these days. When our eyes met, I didn't look away like I usually would. Something about her just pulled me in. Drew noticed and practically shoved me toward the bar, saying, "Dude, go talk to her before someone else does." So I did. Walked over, almost spilled my drink, smooth, right? And somehow managed to start a conversation. She was the complete opposite of me, always chasing the next trend, living for the aesthetic, building her personal brand. Where I'm calculating concrete thickness, she's calculating engagement rates. Our first date was at this lookout point with a view of the whole city skyline. We stayed there talking until like 2 a.m., and I knew there was something special about her. The way she looked at the world was so different from how I saw it, like everything was an opportunity for a story or a photo or an experience. Fast forward 2 years, and things were good enough that I decided to propose. Did it at that same lookout point where we had our first date. Got down on one knee. I'd saved up for months to get her this ring she'd been dropping hints about. Cushion-cut diamond, rose gold band, the works. Not cheap, but she was worth it. Or so I thought. She said yes, ovs, and immediately started planning the wedding. Pinterest boards everywhere, following all these wedding accounts, the whole deal. I was cool with it. This was her thing, and I just wanted her to be happy. We started living together about a year before the engagement, splitting a 2-bedroom downtown. Not the biggest place, but the location was prime, and we made it work. Her half of the closet was like this perfectly organized Instagram-worthy setup, while mine was just clothes in a pile, basically. The first time I met her parents was about 3 months into dating. They'd come to the city for a weekend visit, and Alicia had arranged dinner at this upscale Asian fusion place her dad loves. And that dinner went surprisingly well. Her parents were successful professionals. Her dad in commercial real estate. Her mom a former corporate lawyer turned consultant. They asked about my projects, my career goals, my family. Normal getting to know you stuff. But looking back now, there were signs I missed. Like how whenever we'd go out with her friends, she'd become this different person. Louder, more attention-seeking, kind of dismissive of me. I chalked it up to her just being comfortable and having fun with her girls. But sometimes I'd catch her giving these looks to other guys, or letting them flirt with her a bit too long, before mentioning she was taken. One night stands out. We were at this bar celebrating her coworker's promotion. I was at the table, chatting with some of her work friends, when I noticed her at the bar. She was talking to this guy, tall, model-looking dude with a sleeve tattoo. They were standing close, her hand occasionally touching his arm, as she laughed at whatever he was saying. I felt this knot form in my stomach, watching them. Not just jealousy, though yeah, that was part of it, but also confusion. Because the Alicia at the bar didn't look or act like my Alicia. Her posture was different, her laugh was higher, more performative. She was putting on a show. After like 15 minutes of this, I walked over. Not aggressively, just casually joining the conversation. "Hey babe," I said, sliding an arm around her waist. "Who's your friend?" The guy looked surprised. Clearly had no idea she was there with someone. "Oh, this is Nathan, my boyfriend," she said, her tone shifting slightly. "Nathan, this is Ethan. He's a photographer who works with our brand sometimes." When I brought it up later, she'd laugh it off. "You're being so insecure," she'd say. "That's just how people are at bars. It doesn't mean anything. He's a professional contact. I was networking." "Networking doesn't usually involve giggling and touching someone's arm for 15 minutes, I pointed out. She rolled her eyes. God, were you timing me? It's called being friendly. If you want me to be all cold and standoffish with people in my industry, I'm not going to get very far. And somehow, I ended up feeling like the asshole. Like I was the one with the problem. Then there was the social media stuff. She'd post these thirst trap pics while I was at work, and when I mentioned it felt a little weird, she went off about how I was controlling and didn't understand her industry. Said it was just part of her brand building, and conversations went into circles each time she does something like that. But the real red flag started waving when the wedding planning kicked into high gear. Her bridesmaids, especially this group from college, started hyping up the bachelorette party like it was going to be the last night of freedom or some shit. Their group chat, which she'd sometimes show me, was full of TikToks about hot girl single energy and comments like, "You're only young once, don't be boring," or "Bachelorettes are for breaking rules, not following them." The maid of honor, Jade, was the worst, always posting about what happens at the bachelorette stays at the bachelorette with these suggestive emojis. When I brought it up to Alicia, she just rolled her eyes and said they were just having fun with the tradition. One night, we were in bed scrolling through our phones before sleep, typical millennial bedtime routine, when she started laughing at something. "What's so funny?" I asked. "Nothing, just Jade being Jade," she said, still looking at her phone. I glanced over her shoulder and caught a glimpse of the group chat. Jade had sent a video of a male stripper at some bachelorette party with the message, "This needs to be us." "That stuff doesn't bother you?" I asked carefully. "What? The stripper?" Alicia looked up. "It's just a performance. It doesn't mean anything." "I guess," I said, feeling that knot in my stomach again. "It just seems, I don't know, kind of disrespectful to the relationship." She put her phone down and looked at me with this mix of amusement and condescension. "It's just girls being girls," she said. "God, you're such an old man sometimes. No one's going to cheat on anyone. It's just for fun." I thought about pushing back, about explaining that it wasn't about cheating exactly, but about respect and boundaries. But I could tell from her expression that she'd already dismissed my concerns. So I just nodded and went back to my phone, that knot in my stomach growing tighter. "You trust me, right?" she asked after a minute, her voice softer. "Of course," I said automatically. And I did. I trusted her intentions. I just wasn't sure I trusted her judgment, or her need for validation from others. "Then there's nothing to worry about," she said, kissing me on the cheek before turning off her bedside lamp. "Good night, old man." I should have pressed harder, but I didn't want to be that guy. The insecure, controlling fiancé. So I let it slide. Big freaking mistake. The bachelorette party was planned for this fancy rooftop club downtown, the kind of place with $20 cocktails and a line around the block on weekends. They'd rented out a VIP section for the night, Alicia and 8 of her closest friends, plus whoever else they invited. I wasn't supposed to be there at all. It was girls' night, and I respected that. I had plans to hang with my brother and a couple buddies playing video games. Low-key, the way I like it. Jake and I were in the middle of destroying Drew and Ryan at Smash Bros when my phone buzzed. I ignored it at first, focused on the game, but then it buzzed again and again. "Dude, check your phone," Jake said. "Someone really wants to talk to you." I paused the game and pulled out my phone. 3 texts from Jade. "Hey Nathan, the party is amazing. Alicia is having the best time. You should come by around 11 and surprise her. She'd love to see you." I stared at the messages, confused. Jade had never been particularly friendly toward me, always seemed to see me as the boring guy who was taking her wild friend off the market. Why would she suddenly want me at the bachelorette party? Part of me, a small, nagging part that I immediately silenced, wondered if this was some kind of setup. But then I thought, maybe she's actually trying to be nice? Maybe they're all having innocent fun and genuinely want me to come celebrate with them. "Everything cool?" Jake asked, noticing my expression. "Yeah, just Alicia's maid of honor wants me to surprise her at the bachelorette party later." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Is that normal? I thought those were usually no guys allowed type things." "Maybe they're wrapping up early?" I suggested, though that seemed unlikely given they'd just started a few hours ago. "She says Alicia would love to see me." "Up to you, bro," Jake shrugged. "But if my fiance's friend suddenly wanted me at a girls' night, I'd be wondering why." That nagging feeling returned, stronger now. But I pushed it down again. Maybe this was Jade's way of extending an olive branch. Maybe everything was fine, and I was just being paranoid. "I think I'll go," I decided, "just to see what's up. If it's weird, I can always leave." "Want me to come with?" Jake offered. "I can wait outside or something, just in case." "Nah, it's cool," I said, though I appreciated the offer. I'm probably overthinking it. I told the guys I had to bounce early, went home to shower and change, and headed downtown. The whole drive there, my thoughts were ping-ponging between excitement about surprising Alicia and that persistent uneasiness I couldn't shake. Maybe she'll be genuinely happy to see me, I thought as I parked near the club. Maybe Jade really is trying to be nice. Maybe I've been wrong about her all along. Got to the club around 11:15. There was a line wrapped around the block, but Jade had put my name on the list, so I got right in. The elevator doors opened and the music hit me like a wall. The place was packed, way more people than just their party. Seemed like they'd invited half the city. I scanned the crowd for Alicia, but didn't see her right away. Then I heard this hype man on the mic. You know the type. Too much hair gel, designer t-shirt, probably calls himself an entrepreneur, but just hosts club nights. All right, all right, all right! Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a special treat for you tonight. A beautiful bride-to-be is in the house, and it's her last night of freedom. The crowd cheered, and my stomach dropped. Last night of freedom? What the duck did that even mean? We weren't going to prison. We were getting married. I pushed my way through the crowd, trying to get a better view of what was happening. People were packed shoulder to shoulder, drinks sloshing, everyone looking toward a small stage area I still couldn't quite see. And now, let's bring up our bride-to-be for her special dance. My heart was hammering now, that knot in my stomach turning into a block of ice. Special dance? What kind of special dance? I finally got to where I could see the small stage area they'd set up, and there was Alicia. She was wearing this tiny white dress with a cheap veil, looking hot as hell, but also kind of sloppy drunk. She was giggling as this jacked dude in a tight black shirt helped her onto the platform. Time seemed to slow down. I stood there frozen, watching as this stranger, this hired performer, put his hands on my fiancée. I told myself it was just a silly tradition, just a joke, nothing serious. This isn't happening, I thought. This isn't really happening. But it was. As I watched, the music changed, got slower, more grinding type beat, and this dude pressed up against her from behind, started moving his hands down her sides, gripping her hips. And Alicia, hell man, she was into it, like really into it, grinding back on him like her rent was due at midnight, running her hands through her hair, giving him these looks over her shoulder. The same looks she gave me when we were alone. Something cold and heavy settled in my chest. Not just jealousy, though, yeah, that sucker punched me pretty good. It was something worse. Like feeling a lock break inside your chest. Like realizing the person you trusted most just handed the spare key to a stranger for free. The bridesmaids were going absolutely wild. Screaming, cheering, all of them with phones out recording everything. The crowd around them was eating it up too. And there was Jade, right at the front, filming the whole thing with this huge smile on her face. I understood now. This was why she'd invited me. Not as an olive branch, not as a kind gesture. She wanted me to see this, wanted to see my reaction, wanted the drama. I stood there frozen, like literally couldn't move, couldn't process what I was seeing. My fiancée, the woman I was going to marry in 3 months, basically dry humping some random dude on a stage while her friends recorded it. That's when she saw me. Our eyes locked across the room. I was expecting, I don't know, shock, embarrassment, something that would tell me this wasn't what it looked like. Some sign that she was just caught up in the moment and now realized she'd gone too far. Instead, her eyes lit up with something else. Not shame, not regret, but almost triumph, like she was glad I was seeing this. Like this was part of the plan. She grabbed the mic from the hype guy and shouted, "Relax, babe, it's tradition. Every bride gets one last free night." Her words hit me like a physical blow. One last free night? As if our relationship, our commitment, was some kind of prison she needed a break from? As if the promise we were about to make to each other was something to get one last escape from? The bridesmaids absolutely lost it, howling with laughter, still filming. The crowd made this collective, "oh" sound. I could see people turning to look at me, expressions ranging from amused to uncomfortable to sympathetic. In that moment, something inside me just clicked. A clarity I've never felt before or since. It wasn't about the dance. It wasn't even about the grinding or the touching. It was about the complete and utter lack of respect. The public humiliation. The fact that she saw me standing there, clearly hurt, and instead of stopping, she doubled down. 3 years together. 3 years of building something I thought was special. And she'd just shown me exactly how much it meant to her. How much I meant to her. I didn't yell. Didn't create a scene. Just walked straight through the crowd, people moving aside as I approached the stage. Made my way right up to where she was still dancing with this clown. But at least he had the decency to stand there frozen once he saw me storming in like a final boss cutscene, probably calculating if clout tokens could pay for dental insurance when this went south. I took off the engagement ring I was wearing. Yeah, I wore one too. Old-fashioned, I guess. Dropped it at her feet with a little clink on the stage floor, turned around, and walked out. The music was still going, but I could hear this silence fall over their section as I walked away. The last thing I heard before the elevator doors closed was Jade saying, "Oh shit!" In the elevator, alone, I leaned against the wall and tried to breathe. My hands were shaking. My chest felt tight, but oddly, my mind was clear. Crystal clear. It's over, I thought. It's really over. And the strangest part? Along with the pain and anger and humiliation, I felt something else. Relief. Like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't even know was there, and it had suddenly been lifted. My phone started blowing up before I even got to my car. Texts, calls, voicemails, all from Alicia, her friends, even some of my friends who must have been there. Where are you going? It was just for fun. Why are you being so dramatic? Come back and talk to me. You're embarrassing me. Notice what was missing? An apology. Not a single "I'm sorry." Just making it my problem somehow. I got in my car and sat there for a minute, watching the notifications flood my screen. My hands were still shaking, but not from anger anymore. From certainty. From finally seeing something clearly that I should have seen long ago. I sent one text. "The wedding is off. I'll be at my brother's. Have your stuff out of the apartment by Monday." Then, I turned off my phone. I sat in the car for a few more minutes, just breathing, trying to process what had just happened, what I'd just done. 3 years, gone in an instant. A wedding, canceled. A future, erased. But I didn't feel regret. I felt resolved, like I'd finally stood up for myself after years of small compromises that had slowly eroded my self-respect. I drove straight to Jake's place. Didn't call ahead, just showed up at his door looking like I'd seen a ghost. He took one look at me and knew something was seriously wrong. "What happened?" he asked, letting me in. "Alicia and I are done," I said. That's all I could manage. He didn't push for details, just handed me soda, put on the game, and let me sit there in silence. That's why he's the best. After a couple hours, I gave him the short version. He just nodded and said, "You're staying here as long as you need." "You're not surprised," I observed. He hesitated, then said, "Look, she's always been a bit much. Always performing. Always seeking attention. You balanced her out. Made her more grounded. But some people don't want to be grounded." I thought about that. About all the times I'd made excuses for her behavior. All the times I'd convinced myself that her need for validation from others wasn't a reflection on me or our relationship. "I should have seen it sooner," I said. "Maybe," Jake agreed. "But you saw it when it mattered. Crashed on his couch that night. Barely slept. Kept seeing the look on Alicia's face when she grabbed that mic. Not shame, not regret, just this smug, drunk confidence that she could do whatever she wanted, and I'd just have to deal with it." Sunday morning, I finally turned my phone back on. Exploded with notifications. 47 missed calls. Over 100 texts. Some from Alicia ranging from furious to sobbing. Some from her friends calling me an asshole. Some from my friends asking what happened. Also started getting tagged in shit. Turns out those bridesmaids who were filming posted the whole thing online. The grinding dance and me dropping the ring and walking out. Different angles too, since like 4 of them were recording. I watched one of the videos, sound off. Tried to be objective to see if maybe I'd overreacted. But no, it was exactly as bad as I remembered. Actually, maybe worse. Because now I could see everyone's reactions. The bridesmaids' glee. The crowd's shock. The performer's growing discomfort as he realized what was happening. And most revealing of all, Alicia's face as she saw me and made her decision. There was a moment, just a split second, where she could have stopped. Could have shown some respect for me, for us. Instead, she chose humiliation. Chose attention over respect. The videos had started making the rounds in our social circle. Comments ranged from, "Damn cold-blooded," about me walking out, to "She did him dirty," about Alicia's stunt. I didn't respond to anyone. Just drove back to the apartment when I knew Alicia would be at brunch with her girls, according to her usual Sunday routine. Packed up more of my stuff, left her key on the counter, and headed back to Jake's. I closed the door behind me and didn't look back. Monday, I went to work. Needed normalcy. Some structure in the chaos my personal life had become. My boss, Jeff, could tell something was up, but instead of asking me about my personal life, he just said, "Highway Junction project needs someone to take point. You interested?" "Absolutely," I told him, grateful for the distraction. "Good," he nodded. "The last guy made a mess of the initial plans. Need someone who can rebuild from the ground up. Make sure the foundation is solid." The irony wasn't lost on me. "I can do that," I said, and I meant it. For the next week, I buried myself in work. Schematics, stress calculations, site logistics. Stayed late every night, barely checked my phone. When I did, there were always more messages from Alicia. Can we please talk about this? You're throwing away 3 years over nothing. I was drunk, it didn't mean anything. Everyone does this kind of thing at bachelorette parties. You're being so immature. Still no real apology. Just excuses and attempts to minimize what happened. Trying to gaslight me into thinking I was the problem. Tuesday night around 8 p.m., I was still at the office when the security desk called saying a woman claiming to be my fiancée was demanding to see me. I told them to let her know I was unavailable because, last I checked, I didn't have a fiancé anymore. 10 minutes later, my phone blew up. It was Alicia losing her mind, ranting about how I had security turn her away, like she was some kind of threat. I just texted back that I was working and that we had nothing to talk about. She fired off another wall of texts about how we were supposed to get married in 3 months and needed to talk like adults. Funny choice of words from someone who thought grinding on a hype host at her own bachelorette party was adult behavior. I told her real adults respect their partners and take responsibility instead of calling public humiliation a joke. She tried to spin it, saying it was just one stupid mistake, but I shut it down hard. It wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. And seeing me standing there didn't make her stop. That was all I needed to know. Then I blocked her number and got back to work. Enough was enough. At the end of the week, those videos had spread further than I expected, and something interesting started happening. The same bridesmaids who had been cheering Alicia on that night began distancing themselves. Jade posted this long Instagram story about how some people take things too far, and how she never expected her friend to cross that line. Another bridesmaid, Tiffany, straight up commented, "That was trashy AF, not what we meant by having fun," on one of the videos. The narrative was shifting. They were throwing Alicia under the bus to save their own reputations. Not that I felt bad for her. She made her choices. But it was interesting to see how quickly her girls abandoned her when the public opinion turned. I saw it happening in real time on social media. The early comments sympathetic to her were being overwhelmed by people calling out her behavior. Even people who didn't know us personally were weighing in. The next night, my boy Ryan called. We go way back, like elementary school. Turns out his girlfriend's sister was one of the bridesmaids, so he had insider info. "You good, man?" he asked when I picked up. "Getting there," I said. "Still processing everything." "Yeah, I bet." He paused. "Look, there's something you should know. This wasn't just some random thing that happened. They had been planning this one last fling bullshit for weeks. Alicia told the girls she wanted to do something wild that would get attention. The hype host dude was specifically requested because he's known for these bride special dances. They even had a group chat about it called Alicia's Freedom Party, where they discussed how you'd react. That hit me like a ton of bricks. It wasn't a spontaneous drunk decision. It wasn't peer pressure. It was planned. She wanted to do it, wanted me to see it, wanted the reaction. "How do you know all this?" I asked, my voice tight. "Chelsea's sister showed her the group chat," Ryan said. "She feels bad about the whole thing. Said it went way further than she thought it would." I sat with that for a moment. The premeditation made it so much worse. This wasn't a mistake. This was a deliberate choice to put her desire for attention and drama above our relationship. "Thanks for telling me," I said finally. "It helps, actually. Makes the decision even clearer." "For what it's worth, everyone thinks you did the right thing," Ryan said. "Even Chelsea's sister and the other bridesmaids are saying they'd never have done something like that to their boyfriends." "Now they say that," I scoffed, after they filmed the whole thing and posted it online. "Yeah, well, people suck," Ryan agreed. "You need anything, you let me know, all right?" I thanked him for the info and hung up. Weirdly, I wasn't even angry anymore. Just done. Like when you finally diagnose a structural issue that's been causing problems on a project. You don't get mad at the concrete for cracking. You just fix the foundation and move on. Friday night, I got back to Jake's place after work, and there she was, standing outside his apartment building. Eyes red, makeup streaked. Looking nothing like the confident woman grinding on that stage a week before. As I walked up, I felt strangely calm, like I was watching this scene play out from a distance. "Please," she started when she saw me. "We need to talk. You're overreacting. It was just a stupid tradition." I stopped a few feet away from her, keys in hand. "There's nothing to talk about. Traditions are first dances and cake cutting, not dry humping some random dude while your fiancé watches." I was drunk. Everyone was encouraging me. Her voice cracked. The old me would have softened at her tears, would have wanted to comfort her, fix things, make the pain stop. But this wasn't my pain to fix. And that's supposed to make it better? That you'll disrespect me if you're drunk and peer pressured? Great foundation for a marriage. She stepped closer, tears streaming now. 3 years, babe. 3 years. You're throwing everything away over one stupid mistake. I finally unlocked the door, then turned back one more time. The mistake wasn't the dance. It was you grabbing that mic and humiliating me on purpose. Making it clear my feelings meant nothing compared to you getting attention. Please don't do this, she whispered, reaching for my arm. I stepped back. You already did it, I replied, and closed the door. The weekend was brutal. Alicia went full nuclear. Flowers to my office, blowing up my phone from random numbers after I blocked hers, even dragging her mom into it. Her mom, who I actually liked, made it worse. When I answered an unknown call and heard her voice, I almost hung up but couldn't do it. She told me Alicia was devastated and begged me to talk to her. I kept it respectful but honest, telling her what happened wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. And that once Alicia grabbed that mic and humiliated me in front of everyone, there was no fixing it. After a long pause, she simply said she understood and apologized for how it ended. Before hanging up, she told me to take care of myself, and for the first time that weekend, I felt like someone on her side actually respected what real boundaries looked like. But then something had shifted in the narrative again. The video had made its rounds beyond just our friend group. Someone from Alicia's company had seen it. Turns out a social media manager publicly grinding on some dude at her bachelorette party, while her fiancé drops his ring and walks out, isn't a great look for a fashion brand that sells itself on class and sophistication. I didn't hear about this directly. Ryan, bless his drama-obsessed heart, told me his girlfriend's sister said Alicia had been called into meetings with HR and the marketing director. The company was concerned about brand association, especially since some followers had started tagging the company in the video comments. They didn't fire her, Ryan said as we grabbed lunch near my job site, but they told her to clean up her social media and keep a low profile for a while. I nodded, picking at my sandwich. Makes sense. Their call, though. You don't seem happy about it, Ryan observed. I'm not happy or unhappy, I said honestly. I just want to move on. I stayed completely out of it. This wasn't revenge. This was just actions having consequences. But then Alicia started telling people I was harassing her, that I was unstable and threatening her after the breakup, said she was scared of what I might do, and was considering a restraining order. This shit I couldn't ignore. My reputation as a civil engineer depends on being seen as stable, trustworthy, and reliable. People trust me to build things that won't collapse and kill them. I called my lawyer, explained the situation, and had him draft a cease and desist letter regarding her false statements. The letter was delivered to both Alicia and her workplace, with links to the public videos showing exactly what happened. It formally demanded she stop making false claims about me. This isn't about punishing her, I told my lawyer as he took notes. It's about protecting my reputation and career. He nodded, understanding. We'll keep it professional, just the facts. The letter was professional, factual, and clear. No emotion, just legal boundaries. In the meantime, her bridesmaids had completely jumped ship. The same girls who had been pushing her to have one last wild night were now saying things like, "We had no idea she would take it that far," and were so embarrassed by her behavior. Classic fair-weather friends. 3 weeks after it all went down, I found my own place. Needed a fresh start. It was closer to the office, smaller than the place Alicia and I had shared, but it was mine. Jake helped me move into the new apartment. As we were unpacking boxes in the living room, he asked the question I'd been waiting for. "So," he said, setting down a box labeled kitchen. "Any regrets? About how you handled it all?" I stopped what I was doing and thought about it. Really thought about it. "Not for a second," I told him. "You know what we do when we find a critical fault in a foundation?" "What's that?" he asked, opening a beer and tossing me one. "We don't try to patch it. We don't pretend it's not there. We start over and build something better." He nodded, cracking a smile. "Well, this place is definitely better than that IKEA showroom you were living in before." We both laughed. First real laugh I'd had in weeks. 4 months post-breakup, I met that chick named Emily at the Interchange project. She was the structural engineer consulting on our soil stability issues. First impression, total pro. No bullshit, just expertise. She spotted problems I'd missed and offered elegant solutions. We worked late in the site trailer over pizza and shitty coffee. Nothing romantic, just work. But something was there. Mutual respect and understanding. She mentioned being new to the city from Seattle, still exploring. I suggested some local spots. A hole-in-the-wall taco place, a decent coffee shop. When she suggested I show her sometime, I hesitated. She picked up on it, adding it would just be as colleagues. We hit the taco place the next day. Easy conversation about work, cities, engineering approaches. No pretense. She noticed my hesitation and asked about it directly. I kept it minimal, just told her about a recent broken engagement. She didn't push, just offered to listen if I ever wanted to talk. No pressure, respected boundaries. Kept things professional after that, but I looked forward to her site visits. 2 months later, I ran into her at my climbing gym. She was better than me. We grabbed coffee after. That's when she mentioned seeing the video of the Bachelorette party incident. I was embarrassed, but she said she thought I handled it well. The awkwardness passed quickly. We talked about it honestly. She called me out on being cautious with her, admitting she'd been flirting for weeks. I suggested we be less cautious. Maybe dinner, not as colleagues. She agreed, adding that grinding on strangers wasn't her style. I laughed, told her that was my only deal breaker now. And yeah, we've been dating a couple months. Emily's everything Alicia wasn't. Honest, direct, considerate. When she disagrees, she says it. When she's wrong, she owns it. And we're building something real. Something with a solid foundation. That's it. Just for you guys to know that. Sometimes the best structures rise from the ruins of collapsed ones.